Hearing none, we'll assume everyone. Well, that's great. Well, thank you for joining. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Catherine Lambert. I am the events coordinator with 4-H Ontario, and under that job description, I help with the livestock. So that's why we're here tonight. And we're going to start off. I'll let Evelyn Chambers take over. She's going to give us a quick update on activity plans.
Everyone's favorite. But I will say that, first of all, thank you, Catherine, for the opportunity to join, and thank everyone for taking time out of their schedules to get on the call tonight. You will recall that activity plans were something that we were requiring of every club as we return to in-person activities coming out of COVID. We are looking at COVID kind of at the backside of it now, and so we are not requiring that activity plans be completed for local clubs. So if you're, if you got a dairy club, if you've got a beef club, a sheep club, locally, we're not requiring that there be activity plans filed for those. We do require that there be activity plans filed for multi-club events. So if there's more than one club that is getting together to, like for a bigger achievement day, for a livestock show, for a judging competition, go for the gold, anything that brings multiple clubs together, an activity plan is still required, as they are for any of our I'm going to say more high risk events, and not that any of our livestock shows are considered high risk. At least they shouldn't be, unless you're doing a rodeo, in which case we better talk. But certainly if there are events happening in your association that have to do with speed, with racing, with aquatics, those are considered high risk activities. And so an activity plan still does have to be submitted and approved, as if there is a third-party waivers being signed. So again, nothing that necessarily pertains to livestock, but if you've got a club that is looking at doing, rock climbing or paintball or anything that requires kind of a third-party waivers, then an activity plan does have to be completed. This is a requirement through 4-H Canada, and is something that is standard from coast to coast. So if you're if you're a club in or doing a multi-club event in Newfoundland, or if you're doing one in BC or any other province in between, that's when I said the activity plans are required. So hopefully taking some pressure off of local club leaders by not requiring them to submit activity plans for each of their clubs. I said that was something that we did utilize as we were still coming out of COVID, but now with that kind of behind us, we can put those activity plans behind us as well. But certainly still requiring them for those events that I just spoke about. I am going to stay on the call, and so if there's questions, I'm happy to take them at the end. So, Catherine, I'll turn it back to you for the rest of your agenda.
Thanks. Is there a timeline for submitting activity plans?
Thank you for that. And yes, we do require that we ask that they be in a minimum of 14 business days prior to the event. That just gives us an opportunity to get them reviewed and approved, and if there's more information that's required, get them sent back out. So again, a minimum of 14 business days. I mean, we can turn them around quicker, but don't guarantee it. So I said, if you can stick to that minimum of 14 business days, that would be appreciated. And thanks, Catherine, for reminding me of that.
Sounds good. Thanks, Evelyn. Next up on our agenda, we have Vince Brennan, who is the Executive Director of the Ontario Association of Agricultural Societies. And Vince is here just to give a quick update. Just trying to find your presentation of the livestock traceability. And I have it open, but it doesn't show me I have it open. Vince, if you just want to start without me, I'll catch up. Where is it? Right there.
Sorry, Catherine, Vince needs to unmute.
Yeah, that will help.
Okay.
I'm usually doing all the talking, so I'm never muted. So
That's
sorry,
true.
and thanks, Joseph, for bringing that up. Most people would like to see me muted, I think, but yes, as Catherine was saying, I'm here to give an overview of the livestock traceability, and thanks to Catherine and 4-H Ontario for their having me have the opportunity to share a few minutes of your time here this evening. So let me just change a couple things around on my screen here. There we go. So we're going to go through this fairly quickly, but we'll spend some time at the end here. So in a nutshell, this is strictly our interpretation, and in no way does it represent a legal or a definitive opinion on what the Traceability Act is speaking to. It is 160 plus pages that was released, so there's a lot of language in there. So just a little bit, that's point 1. Point 2 is we're at the point now where we are, well, first of all, the Canada Gazette 1 was just released, and now with stakeholder and input following that, they will be a Canada Gazette 2, and they indicate those changes will take effect 1 to 2 years following then. So in the next 2 years, for sure, we're going to be implementing some changes that are not there right now. So we have until June 16th. There was a 90-day period from the first day that the Gazette was released, to share our opinions and concerns. So I want to be really clear here that the Ontario Association of Agricultural Societies and all the agricultural societies across the country, first and foremost, we do support the program and the objectives of livestock traceability. It is a critical component to the succession of Canadian agriculture, landscape, and necessary to ensure the health and safety of our animals, food, and citizens. And we have that paragraph right in the first full paragraph of our position statement. So I want to make that really clear that we definitely support the livestock traceability. We don't support the additional burden that's going to be placed on our agricultural societies with the responsibility of collecting and reporting the movement information. And we'll share a little bit of that as we go through the slides. So this one here, there's 3 areas that we're going to touch on: animal movement, tagging, and care and control. So the first one under why can't, there we go. We propose that the movement of animals from fairgrounds be reported by the farm of origin. The farm of origin would be responsible to ensure all animals sent to fairgrounds have approved, intact, undamaged indicators. And that's not what CFIA is proposing here, but that is our position on it. And this is for the listed species that were on the first photograph, or this first slide there, of dairy, sheep, bison, goats, pigs, and in some cases there's deer servants is included in that one. Not that that's at very many. So what events are affected? It is from our understanding that these regulations are in effect for all events involving those listed species on the fairgrounds. If an agricultural society loans, rents their premises for a 4-H event, i.e. a 4-H show, a fitting day, a calf rally, education for a livestock display, etc., that involves any of those listed animals, the agricultural society is responsible for collecting and submitting that information. Okay. So continuing with the animal movement, there's a whole list of things under the Act here, and it speaks to what we are going to be expected to report if this goes through. So it will mean that will have to report within 7 days of the animals being on our fairgrounds and leaving the fairgrounds. We need to record the premise ID numbers of the particular site where they're from, the operator, again, the destination site, where they go back to when they leave. All this information that is being collected already, or should be collected already, by the livestock exhibitors, particularly the dairy producers, and they're already accustomed to this. And the other part of that is they must have an approved indicator tag on those animals. So no more should you ever be going to a fair or off your premises without a properly tagged animal. So from our understanding of these proposed regulations, agricultural societies will be required to read and record the identification number from each animal indicator tag from each exhibitor. Okay, so tagging. We propose that the owner farm of origin is responsible for providing and applying the approved indicators issued to the farm of origin, not the fairgrounds or the intermediary sites. To be applied to the animal, should be a tag be lost or removed while at the fairgrounds, particularly in the majority of the case, the animal is returning to the farm of origin rather than moving to another destination. So properly tagged, we're probably not an issue with losing them for 99% of the time. And the other part of it is they're returning home to the same place. But if there is missing tags, our position has been is to refuse those animals on our fairgrounds. No tag, no entry, no exceptions. And that will alleviate a lot of paperwork and a lot of frustration for our volunteers. So, and I know 4-H Ontario has done a great job in getting that information in through Assist Expo. So it's just that some general maintenance and making sure before you leave home that that tag is intact, that it is in good shape, that it's not half broken off and going to lose it be in the transition of it. Some of the exhibitors are having to make sure they have an extra tag in their show box for that particular situation. Okay. One of the areas that I take exception to is around the care and control, which was the third part of those 3 bullets in the second slide that we just shared. And it's the grouping that CFIA has us with. The Canada Gazette interprets fairs, exhibitions, and agricultural societies, those who have care and control of animals, which we know is inaccurate. We, as agricultural societies, never have the care and control of animals on our fairgrounds. It is you, the 4-H leaders, the 4-H parents, the owners of those animals are always under the care and control. So we feel there's some room for CFIA to make some allowances or reconsideration here around what they deem to be care and control. The owner or the designated is responsible for unloading and loading of animals. Again, agricultural societies don't do that. We're not responsible for the care and feeding of animals. And we're not responsible for calling the vet if you need an emergency situation either. So very clear here that we as agricultural societies are never, ever in the care and control of these animals. Commingling, which was another part of that's under care and control, and it speaks to livestock owners are allotted specific stalls and or pens to house those animals while they bring them to the fair. So I mean, they're not commingling like they would if you went to a sale barn where you dropped off at the loading chute and goodbye, it's their responsibility, or feedlots or anything else like that. And the other thing that's really unique to show animals going to the fairs or events like that is that all these animals return home. And in some cases, they're only on the fairgrounds for a few hours. Okay. So I kind of highlighted a couple of the concerns that are going through here, but we are really concerned with the burden that is being placed on our agricultural societies. That the proposed amendments will create a significant challenge to our societies and our volunteers and our resources. And it's been told that many agricultural societies have indicated to us that they currently don't have enough volunteers now. And then to have extra staff for their livestock shows, we will just not be able to have enough staff volunteers to collect and submit the movement information that they are proposing in the regulations. So what's that mean? Well, many agricultural societies without additional volunteers and lack of volunteers and the lack of resources may ultimately result in the cancellation, if not all, of their livestock shows. And that would include 4-H, livestock programs, animal educational displays on their fairgrounds if these proposed changes are not amended to be more reasonable for us to assist with providing that long-time tradition of livestock shows, 4-H shows. So, I mean, that's going to affect everyone. It's going to be a lack of education for the general public out there if we don't have them. It's going to be, in some cases for larger shows, it's a vehicle for marketing our livestock products. It's going to be losing facilities to host 4-H programs, i.e. achievement days. And it's just going to affect everything right across Canada. As Evelyn said, it's not just Ontario that we're talking about when in her views, but it's the same here. It's from coast to coast that this is going to affect. And so that's something that we're very concerned with. What also concerns me is CFIA isn't taking our concerns that serious yet. They don't understand the impact that our agricultural society, that it will impact on our agricultural societies, and the impact on not having livestock shows, not having 4-H achievement days at our fairgrounds. It's huge. And part of that is we've never been invited to the table where they make all these decisions. And many of the people that are sitting at this table don't understand a 4-H show. They don't understand an achievement day. They don't understand the agricultural competitions that we have that includes livestock. So it's going to be a huge burden if they are able to follow through. Next. So I posed this question earlier today. If our agricultural society's fairgrounds were no longer available for livestock programs, how would it affect your county, your province, and the National 4-H Association? So we need 4-H Ontario and its county associations to get involved and make sure that this doesn't happen. Next. So a couple of next steps here. The very critical thing that we're asking for is that people submit through the via the Canada Gazette. They've tightened the opportunities to submit responses or concerns back to them. It can only be done through the Canada Gazette portal, and emails, letters are not being accepted. They're not recognizing them. It has to go through this portal that they have created, and I'll show you a little bit of information once we get to there, how you log in and do that. And then the second part, we have what they call push politics, where if you put in your name, your postal code, it will identify your MP, your MPP. It will automatically be sending the same copy of that letter to the Minister of Agriculture for Ontario and Canada, as well as to the Ministers of Health for both. So that one's quite easy to do, but if you could only do one, I strongly encourage you it be the Canada Gazette. Canadian Association of Fairs and Exhibitions are having conversations with 4-H Canada, and Evelyn said they met last week with something. I think Christina was meeting again this week and asking for their support on our position regarding these proposed regulations. Next. So I can't stress it enough. It is critical that every director on the 4-H provincial board or 4-H Ontario staff, the county organizations, leaders, 4-H members and their families, friends, and other supporters submit their concerns, comments via the Canada Gazette, and it has to be in by June 16th. Numbers will speak. It really will speak volumes to the amount of letters they get to propose these current regulations, and your help will be greatly appreciated with that. Again, we've been told from our people that are in the know, numbers, and that's what they're going to pay attention to. And if they don't get a lot, then they take the position it's all fine and it's all dandy. So can't stress that enough. What's on the next slide, Catherine? Don't want to take up a lot of your time. Okay, so these next couple slides are quite important here. We had a webinar last week, or April 11th, I guess it was now, that we put on for Ontario, and we may be doing another one here before the June 16th deadline. But there's information on our homepage of the Ontario Ag Societies. There's information on the Canadian Fairs and Exhibitions website. It's actually a mirrored one. The website for the portal is there on the left, but if we go through the process on the right, and there's about 6 or 7 steps that walk you through how to copy paste our position paper. So we've done all the language for the position paper. It's about 4 pages long, but how you copy paste that and then drop it into the window that's provided. There's also another one if you have additional comments that you'd like to add. I must say and strongly encourage you, no swearing, no profanity in there. That'll likely get removed and not be acknowledged as something. So be aware of that. We don't want any of that stuff happening. The other part that I might mention too is all of these letters, from what we understand, will be published in the next round. So the more the merrier. So if there's something you don't want said, don't put it in. But if you do nothing else other than copy and paste the information that we have, it will go a long way. So just about at the end here, this is a copy of what is on our website, the Ontario Ag Society's website. It's on the home page. Down here at the bottom where it's highlighted, copy of our concerns, that's our position paper. It's the again, the link to the Canadian Fairs one that goes there. The proposed changes, that's the 160-page document there if you want some bedtime reading. We do have a copy of the webinar video that was done. It's posted as well. So if you want to look through that as to how you copy paste and go through the steps with that, is pretty straightforward, but it's nice to see it the first time. There's a link there that takes you to the Push Politics email platform that we have there as well. Next, okay. Are there some questions here? I know I went through this very quickly. I'm expecting that we will be having something directed down from 4-H Canada through 4-H Ontario that you'll see this, but some of you probably have heard a little bit about this. We've been pushing this. I did have a letter received from OFA that they are looking at to see how they can assist us in doing that. And I think an organization like that, having them on board will be good. A number of the agricultural ministers are indicating that they will be doing a letter of support. Minister Thompson has indicated that she has it with her people right now working on a response for us. So So what we're hoping, in addition to what you folks and all the other people across Canada can submit, is we're going to compile an additional pile of supporting documents from breed organizations, hopefully from 4-H Ontario and organizations as such, to put that in additional pile as to what we as the Canadian Fairs and Exhibitions will be submitting. Hopefully I didn't scare anyone, but it's a real concern.
Thanks, Vince. Any other questions for Vince? I'll share Vince's presentation when I send out the notes from tonight. I'll share a link to the webinar that was a few weeks ago and any links you might need.
So a couple of the
yeah.
highlights just from this afternoon, Catherine, there was a couple of discussions around the premise ID numbers. And the majority of our agricultural societies in Ontario do have premise ID numbers, but it's not always able to find that. So I reposted it on the Ontario Fairs website. So there's a list of them there. But if you go to the directory, if you've been searching in a district or whatever, any of the agricultural societies for information, that premise ID number is listed with each of the agricultural societies that are there. So, and that was current information. So there are ways around getting it, sometimes through Dairy Trace, even if they say you can look it up. But if they put that information in a few years ago, they had two options. One was enter it privately or publicly, and if they did it privately, it's not going to show up in a search even through Dairy Trace. But that information is on our website.
Perfect. Joseph, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick question, and I'm kind of a newbie to the whole livestock thing, but I'm looking at it as like in a mass way. Why don't we have representation, since we are such a large organization, that they're not listening to us, since we put on hundreds of shows across Canada and they don't take it seriously? I have a problem with it because the 4-H brand is so large. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm having a difficult time understanding why they wouldn't take us seriously in that whole conversation.
So,
sorry, Vince, since our main thing is beef, dairy, it is heavy duty. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see how it doesn't have effect. Sorry.
I'm 100% with you, Joseph. I'm going to back up a little bit. I've only been with the OAAS directly in a staff portfolio for 7-8 years. Christina from Cafe is around the same time or a little less. Cafe didn't have at that time the agricultural impact with their organization just the same. So I think when some of this came out, maybe they weren't asked, or maybe they didn't follow up with it, but certainly in Ontario, we didn't have staff, and we never had staff to follow through with that. And Catherine can allude to that in a major way. But what has happened is when these commodity groups, whether it be the dairy, the beef, whoever it is, never thought about, oh, we got people that are showing cattle and going to fairs. So it's been something they forgot about. Then they got some language in the first round there 20-some years ago. And any of us that know a little bit about government and red tape and CFIA, they don't like to admit that maybe they should change it. But we did get a few things altered. We did get a little bit done around the tagging. And we're definitely mentioned in the Gazette on several of occasions now where there was no language to egg societies, fairs, or exhibitions. There was nothing like that before. So we have done a great round with that. And I hope this continues, but I do agree with you why they weren't there before. I can't speak to it. I wasn't there.
And so my next thing is in regards to how you were saying how we can support you as a whole organization. Is there a shorter or quicker way of social media taking part in this where people can go on to say 4-H Ontario site as our 4-H for the 4-H associations, and maybe like a quick click and it takes you where you can fill out your name. It's like maybe like a change.org situation. Would that be even more helpful? Because I find that if you're going to be telling a lot of people that are not too savvy on the computer to sort of go here, copy, paste, do this, it's sort of not a very long like focus for them. So they'll lose interest very quick. Whereas if we can get that support by parents and sort of marketing it to our associations, all individually as one whole, then everybody who leads the associations, presidents and whatever, make sure that it gets sort of dealt to all of the associations. You know, is that sort of clear, or am I?
I hear you 100%, but they have put
click,
in
click,
these.
click, and the person's name is sent, and we have that support that we say, you know, there's 1,000 people from Middlesex, 1,000 people from this other association, 1,000 people, just so that it's easier to get that support.
You have to remember CFIA has done this, so it isn't easy.
Okay.
It made it very difficult. And this is when we'll be speaking with Senator Black here next week. Is this even acceptable for the way they're doing this? Like, they're really handcuffing our individuals to being able to respond easily.
Well, it's kind of like it's a kids organization, and we're sort of like stomping on them and saying, oh, let's do this. And then all of a sudden you're telling these kids that are so excited to show their cattle and their beef, and they're like, there's excitement about it. And I just don't understand why they would sort of try and find a way to unexcite them.
Well, we're having discussions here in the next few days what our next media blitz, or the media blitz will be looking like, as far as getting that message out there on a different level. So there may be something to what you're saying, Joseph, that can be done, but all I can say is we need to do it through that portal of the CFIA, and Catherine will send you the link with it and the stuff with that. It's not as scary as it looks. I had individuals that said the other night it took them maybe 3-4 minutes to do both of them. They didn't add much themselves. They just simply copy pasted it. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm not going to keep you because I know we have lots to go on. Okay. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Joseph, for your question. I think Vince is going to stick around for the rest of the call. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. We can answer them at the end if we have time. I can also share Vince's contact information. So we appreciate your support as much as possible. So moving on, I put the agenda back here on the screen. We'll start there with number 5. So the volunteer livestock contact position transition. So I'm assuming everyone on this call is the livestock contact for your local association. If you are new, or if you forget your login, password, credentials for Assist Expo, please send me an email and I will get you in touch with Assist Expo. Maybe the previous livestock contact passed that information on. That's great. If they didn't, we can certainly help you get that set up anytime, so you're ready to go when registrations start coming in. Number 6 on the agenda is the project animal identification forms. So once again, those are entered through Assist Expo. That's the only way that the 4-H members can register their projects this year. June 1st is still the deadline for all the commodities. There's been a few updates with Assist Expo since last year. So 2 upgrades. If you're familiar with the dairy, when a 4-H member enters their dairy registration number for their calf and hits verify, it automatically verifies and it automatically fills in with registration of dam and sire names and all the correct spelling. So that is now up and running for the beef as well. So that'll make a huge difference with spelling mistakes when we go to verify for other shows, that the data should match, hopefully much easier than that has in the past. So that'll be a helpful tool for our dairy members. We also have added a new feature. It's a entry data selection. So for example, if you have a team of 10 dairy heifers going to the Classic at the Royal, and you want to pull out just those 10 heifers and their information, you can just click on those 4-H members' names or in a box, click box, and you can export that information into a PDF or in a way that you can use it if you're doing registrations for specific shows. That you don't have to go through all 100 dairy entries, just need to collect the 10 that you're looking for. There are tools and resources regarding Assist Expo and registering animals that I'll share. They're listed on the website as well, but 4-H members can use them. They list step-by-step instructions of how to enter their 4-H animals. There's tools there for leaders as well. They might get some questions. So under 4-H Ontario website, I'll share the link under livestock. There are those tools there with you. Also, as the Livestock Contact, there is an Assist Expo handbook, which goes in a little more detail, which I will certainly share with you as well if you don't have a copy. A reminder, or maybe some questions you might get from your 4-H members about entering their livestock animals in Assist Expo. When the 4-H members log into Assist Expo, it is through an email and a password. If the same household shares the same email, that is no problem. When they start entering information, for example, Susie, she can start entering her information, and then she can add participant. There's a red button at the top of the screen, and that way, then maybe Bobby can start entering his information. If there's more than one animal that a member is entering, they can do that all in the same sitting. Just click on add project or add entry, and that'll give them another drop down menu if they select the commodity. And they can, if Susie is entering a beef, sheep, and dairy, she can do that all at the same time, just with a different drop down menu. So that's not a new feature, but that's a common question we get. How do same households use the same email, and how does a member entering more than one animal do that? Also, if they aren't showing more than one of the same commodity, so maybe 2 beef animals, they need to select on their project information form which one will be their animal that they're going to be showing out of county. So that's the only animal that will be eligible to leave the county for shows, regional, provincial, national shows. Their other project would only be allowed to be shown locally. And that's not a new rule, but another question we get as well. Number 7, just regarding more information about submitting project animal identification forms. So June 1st is the deadline. As a livestock contact, you're given the deadline up until June 10th to verify the entries. And when I mean verify, you need to work with your membership coordinator just to make sure, that the 14 beef members in the Malmay Beef Club are the same 14 members that you have listed, or if you only have 12. Work with the leaders to get those other 2, find out where they are or why they're not submitted. And then also verify that they are a paid 4-H member. So just to make sure those 14 members are all paid members and members in good standing. Any questions so far about that? Fabulous. As I mentioned, I do have notes that I'm reading off of, so I will share those with everybody after tonight's call as well. The breed award contact list. So that's something that I try to send out late in the summer, but it's just something for, as a livestock contact, we ask you to reach out to those breed contacts. It's more the beef breeds that offer awards and prizes for members that show their breeds, but they would like those numbers as sooner than later when they give us the information, just so they can order the awards and get them organized and back to you before their awards night. So just have an eye for that. When you get that email from me, that's what it's all about. Just reach out to the Herefords, the Simmental, the Angus, and let them know how many members that you are have entered this year, and I'll provide their contact information in that email. Usually about mid-August, I have that information back to me and I'll pass on to you. In terms of show updates, just a reminder that there are some shows that do connect with 4-H Ontario and ask us to verify their entries. So we're just verifying that that is the same animal that the 4-H member entered as of June 1st, is the same animal they entered into the show. Shows like East Gen and the youth shows at the Royal, they're the main ones that take some time to verify, but we do work with our or shows and help them out as well. In terms of animal health, this is just basically common sense and common courtesy that we ask you to share with your members and your volunteers. If there's an animal that is sick, we just ask that you leave them home. Nothing worse than going to the show with a healthy animal and coming home with a sick animal to find out that someone didn't know enough to leave their sick animal at home. So just keep that in mind as well. Excuse me. It's really important and a great lesson for the members to learn and understand. Fort Ontario does have livestock policies, and they are posted on the website at any time. You can go and check those. There are quite a few livestock policies. The two I just want to put your attention to tonight, animal appeal policy. So some people may not even realize that this is a policy. And it's in place for members or participants if they want to request or share any concerns they may have about their 4-H year, but even specifically about their 4-H project. If for any reason maybe your animal passes away and they're looking to replace their 4-H project, there is a process in place, and they need to go through the annual appeal. There's a committee that will review the request. There's paperwork and some required documents that are required. It's not a quick process. And so if you have any 4-H members asking how, maybe if they want to try and get their project replaced because of death or for whatever reason, you can direct them to the policies and the forms on our website, and there's steps there to explain what happens. Same with ear tag replacement. Vince mentioned how important ear tags are, and it really is. We do have a form online. I receive a few every year. Ear tags do fall out. It's not the end of the world, but it's very important that we receive the updated ear tag information. When I receive that, I will update our files in Assist Expo. And it's really important that we do receive those tags or those forms, because if any of those shows are asking us to verify entries and ear tags don't line up, it just makes things a little more complicated and slower process. So just a reminder to your members and your livestock leaders that there is a form on the Fort Ontario website for ear tag replacements as well. I did pretty good. That was quick. Probably a review for most people if you've been around for a few years, but I will open the floor for any questions for myself, Evelyn, or Vince. I'm also a phone call away or an email away if you have any questions throughout the year or at any time.
I have a question for Evelyn in regards to the
Activity plan?
activity plan. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
You talked about needing them when it's multi-club activities. When you say that, do you mean multi-counties or multi-clubs within our own county?
Both. So if you've got several clubs within Frontenac 4-H Association that are coming together for a show, that would require an activity plan. Similarly, I'm thinking of the Region 2 show at Livestock Show that is at Metcalf Fair. That would also require an activity plan.
Okay, but if we're having say we have two clubs that are doing a joint meeting.
That is a multi-club event.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Great question though.
Go ahead, group. All right. I don't see any other questions. I don't want to hold you up. Oh, Joseph has a question. Oh,
Go ahead. You go ahead. You got it first.
go Ashley. Go ahead, Ashley.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Just a quick question. We didn't run into this problem, but we almost did. And so last year there was an issue with dairy calves. There was like a shortage of tags. So we had a lot of kids that like the week before calves had to be registered finally got their tags, and we were kind of panicking so it worked out that everyone did have their tags in the end. But what do we do in that situation when these kids are trying to get their calves registered by a deadline, and
Yeah, good question.
there's
And
literally
there were members last year and the tags didn't arrive by June 1st. So they just filled in as much information as they could. They knew the animal's name, they knew the birth date, they knew the dam and the sire. They just didn't have the registration number. So we just asked you to put the word pending in there. And then
Okay.
it's, just unfortunately as a Livestock Contact, we ask that you try and follow up with those members, as much as you can until you get the information, because especially if they're going to East Gen, like early July, it's really important that we get that registration number sooner than later. Just so when they get to the show, there's no complications for them or confusion. So it does happen, and we just ask that you work with and be patient with your members, but work with them as well. And hopefully before their first show, we get all that information entered.
okay. Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Vince is going to add to that.
Yes, just addition to that, there was a huge shortage of supply of indicators last year. From my understanding with the meetings I've been involved with Dairy Trace, et cetera, that is not the same situation this year, and there should be inventory for the farmer breeders to have them in stock. But it was great that you had a mechanism last year to help with that in that shortage.
Joseph, you have a question?
Yeah, this is for Evelyn. Just a clarification, Evelyn. 2 clubs or 3 clubs going on a field trip to go somewhere, do they just fill out one activity plan and just list everybody?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
That's a
And
good
I
question.
would say, even going back even to Joanne's question around the multi clubs. If one leader one for club volunteer takes on the responsibility and provides the information for all the clubs that are participating, including who's going to be participating, who's going to be chaperoning, the dates, all the details, I'm okay with that. It's just as long as we get all that information put into one document. So
Perfect. All right, folks. Still 0-0 in the hockey game. We haven't missed much yet. So I won't hold anybody up. Thank you for joining us. Watch your emails. I'll send some notes out in the next few days. But I appreciate all your help and everything you do for your local association. Good luck with your 4-H year, and give me a text. Well, no, not text. Call me or email me if you have any questions throughout the year. We're here to help you, and good luck with your 4-H year. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Catherine. Have a good evening, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.